everybody, this is Dr. Forth, and we are continuing our detoxification series, moving on to the liver, which is one of the organs that I had mentioned specifically as being important in natural detoxification. The liver is a pretty good sized organ. It's tucked up under the edge of the rib cage at the right side of the body. And all of the nutrients that are absorbed from, not just nutrients, all of everything that's absorbed through the digestive tract goes directly to the liver through the hepatic portal system. And so the liver is responsible for processing all of those absorbed nutrients and also any bacteria or byproducts from bacteria metabolism all get processed by the liver. The bacteria get handled by particular cells in the liver called Kupffer cells. And these Kupffer cells are plentiful, and it's very important to note because they do help to protect us from bacteria. Ammonia is a byproduct of protein metabolism. So when we consume proteins and break them down, we pull off ammonia, and then the rest of the carbon chain of the protein. I know this is not a chemistry class, but the rest of that protein portion can be metabolized for energy, but that ammonia has to be removed from the body and it's toxic. So it goes to the liver and the liver processes it into something called urea. Urea is able to be eliminated by the kidneys. So the kidneys filter the blood and remove this urea product, thereby removing it from the body's kidneys are also part of the detoxification process. And so we'll be talking about that in a future video. Bilirubin is a pigment that comes from the breakdown of old red blood cells. Red blood cells last for about 120 days in the body. And after that, they have to be broken down, and a lot of those materials get recycled to make new red blood cells. But the bilirubin pigment actually goes to the liver, and the liver incorporates it into bile. Bile is something that's made by the liver. It's stored in the gallbladder and it helps with fat digestion. I always tell my students, think about those dish detergent commercials where they have the really greasy pan and they put a couple squirts of detergent and it breaks up the grease, which then happily washes, down the drain and gets removed from the dish. That's kind of how bile works in the digestive tract. It breaks down fats so that they can more easily be metabolized by enzymes for fat digestion. So the liver makes the bile, it gets stored in the gallbladder and released when we eat fats. Bilirubin pigment goes into the bile, and that's actually what gives the fecal material its characteristic brown color. So that's another way that the liver helps to get rid of waste materials. Liver is very important in the processing of alcohol. So if you enjoy your wine and cocktails, appreciate your liver for its role. So we have particularly an enzyme there called alcohol dehydrogenase. Anytime you see something in an ASE, that means it's probably an enzyme. And so the liver processes the alcohol, which is a toxic material, breaks it down to non-toxic components, and we can burn some of that for energy. Liver is also responsible for the metabolism of fructose. You've probably heard of fructose. This is actually the sugar that is found in fruits. And anytime you see something ending in OSE, that means it's probably a sugar. So fructose comes from fruits. And unlike glucose, which can be metabolized and used by all of the cells in the body, fructose can only be processed by the liver. And when the liver processes fructose for energy, it can create some problems. Excess consumption of fructose can result in fatty liver disease, just like alcohol consumption. So you can have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease because of excess fructose metabolism. Some of the scientists and doctors that have talked about this process, Dr. Mark Hyman and Dr. Robert Lustig, have both written books and made videos about that. In fact, there's one video on YouTube. It's rather lengthy, probably about an hour and a half long. It's Sugar, the Bitter Truth. And Dr. Robert Lustig is talking about how fructose is metabolized. So those are just some highlights of the liver, one of the organs that we use for detoxification. In our next upcoming videos, we're going to highlight some of the other organs and how they work in natural body detoxification. So stay tuned.